Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Today we're going to explore 38 facts about gold. Quite fascinating indeed. Let's take a look. The first fact is actually based off of a video I posted before. The world's largest gold bar weighs 250 kilograms. That's 551 pounds. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the bar is in Japan, where it's stored here. That's the first fact. As we make our way through, gold has been discovered on every continent on Earth. I assume that also means Antarctica. There are sources for these, but we won't explore these. But it's fascinating to learn that gold has been found on every continent. And also, I will note that most people believe it's also a lot of it on the ocean floor. But getting to some parts of the ocean floor is, in many cases, more difficult than would be to mine it off of an asteroid. Gold is edible. Now, most of us probably knew this already because you see it as decorations on food and the like, but it makes sense considering gold is one of the least reactive metals out there. So gold is edible, but I wouldn't recommend chewing on a 1 ounce gold coin anytime soon because it might prove to be quite obstructive. Our bodies contain about 0.2 milligrams of gold. Most of it is in our blood. So who would have ever thought that we do contain gold in our bodies and among many other metals as well? In fact, I've even heard that tungsten is in our system as well, and we have a need for tungsten. So you never know. If you find portions of gold in our system, whatever particle that may be, should we test it for being filled with tungsten? Earthquakes turn water into gold. Now that is fascinating. I never knew that. My guess is it's probably with a disturbance of the ground. It could possibly, the gold is actually just infiltrates into the water in minuscule amounts, perhaps. That's something maybe we could explore later on. But very interesting indeed. And speaking of water in the ocean, there is gold in the ocean and in the water. Same thing with silver. Small traces of gold have been found in the leaves of eucalyptus trees. Now that is fascinating indeed. To find out that there is a little bit of gold in the leaves of eucalyptus trees. So for the koala, it maybe makes you consider that perhaps the next time the Perth Mint makes the koala coin, and especially if the koala is chewing on some eucalyptus, it might not be a bad idea to make that gilded. Next, more gold is recoverable from a ton of personal computers than from 17 tons of gold ore. Now that is interesting. Wow, what a fact this is. But the thing is parsing through a ton of personal computers and extracting it in that manner is probably a lot more difficult than it is from the ore or from the earth. Olympic gold medals only contain 1.34% of gold. And I knew this. In fact, I posted a video about it. It is actually gold-plated silver. And as you can see here, the Olympiad London, that looks like a Libertad. Looks a lot like a Libertad. Very cool indeed. Very interesting. 3 Olympic swimming pools can hold all the gold ever mined in the world. Now, I've heard 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools, but with as much as they're producing, with technology and the like out there, it really doesn't surprise me that there would be 3 Olympic swimming pools that can hold all the gold ever mined in the world. Very interesting indeed. Next fact, 6/10 billionths of the sun is gold. Wow. Now, keep in mind, the sun is a pretty big celestial body out there. So that's seems like a small number, but when you think about it, if you were to aggregate it all out of the sun by some miracle, that's a lot of gold. That is a lot of gold indeed. All right. Over 6 milligrams of gold are lost every year from a wedding ring just by wearing it. Now that makes sense too, because most wedding rings are 14 or 10 karat gold, but gold is still soft enough that it is going to wear off. As most of you know, I have an American Eagle silver dollar that I've carried with me since 1990, and more than 1/10 of an ounce of it has been worn away. The world's oceans contain nearly 20 million tons of gold. You remember earlier I mentioned that when I talked about earthquakes and water. And so, yes, when you take it, you can aggregate it from the ocean waters. But of course, the challenge remains is actually finding it and extracting it from the ocean. But very interesting indeed. Wow. The world pours more steel in an hour than it has poured gold since the beginning of recorded history. Wow. Now that is quite fascinating. It just goes to show you the rarity of gold compared to steel, especially when we look at the time scales there. Very fascinating indeed. Nearly all of the gold on the Earth came from meteorites that bombarded the planet over 2,200 million years after it was formed. So yes, I'm a little bit not sure about the timetable on this one, but definitely do think, well, it is fascinating to see that, gold does come from space, and they say that it comes from the stars. Carat weight can be 10, 12, 14, 18, 22, or 24. The higher the number, the greater the purity. I think most of us already knew this, but it is a fascinating fact indeed. 24 karat gold melts at 1,063 degrees Celsius, or 1,945 degrees Fahrenheit. Very interesting indeed, and most of us kind of knew that too. Around 2,000 degrees there. Wow. Nearly half the gold ever mined has come from one place, Witwatersrand, South Africa. Wow. And as most of you know, there's also home to the deepest mine in the world. They're fascinating. There is enough gold in the Earth's core to coat its entire surface to a depth of 1.5 feet. Wow. But the problem is getting to the core to be able to extract it. Fascinating. Also, there's a lot of nickel in the core of the Earth as well. In 2014, Dubai launched a program that pays children 2 grams of gold for every kilogram of weight they lose. Pretty amazing. 2.2 pounds. If you lose 2.2 pounds, Dubai will pay you 2 grams of gold. Fascinating indeed. Very cool. Auroraphobia is the fear of gold. Wow. So there's an actual fear there, and I would venture to guess that all of those watching this video do not suffer from that phobia. Indian housewives hold 11% of the world's gold. That is more than the reserves of the U.S. Mint, IMF, Switzerland, and Germany put together. There you have it. Now you know why India really potentially could be the richest nation on earth if gold was valued for, if it became a form of currency. Fascinating indeed. Mr. T's gold collection is worth over $120,000. Now, there you go. This guy was a real deal, Mr. T, and with all that there, pretty interesting, amazing. The most valuable legal tender coin in the world is a $1 million coin from Australia. Since it weighs 1,000 kilograms and is 99.99% pure gold, it is worth almost $45 million US. McLaren's F1's engines are built with gold. Now that is interesting considering the heat that they could generate. But that is fascinating. This McLaren's F1 engines are built with gold. Interesting. Injecting gold into the body can help fight cancer. Yes, there have been some studies about it, and I know that platinum as well has been said to have some of the same properties, and there's been some studies how this can be done through the Keynesian process as well. That would use gold that would be melted down and then attacking the cancer cells. All the gold ever mined in the world could fit into a cube with the sides of 20.7 millimeters or meters or 68 feet. So that gives you an idea of perspective and size. And there you see the cube there compared to the pyramid. Of course, I don't know which pyramid this is. I assume the larger one. Alchemist Henning Brand believed that he could distill gold from human urine. After stockpiling 1,500 gallons of urine and boiling it, he discovered phosphorus. Wow. So looking for gold, he ended up discovering something else which had been very beneficial. There are 52,000 tons of mineable gold still on the ground, worth $2 trillion. Apple recovered 2,204 pounds of gold from broken iPhones in 2015. That's worth about $40 million. And there you go. And this stuff is worth getting out for gold. And maybe one day it will be for silver as well. A ton of iPhones yield 300 times more gold than a ton of gold ore. That's sort of related to the previous fact about trashed gold from electronics and landfills like. About 1/5 of all the gold held by the world's governments, worth about $248 billion, is stored beneath the streets of London. Some of us may have seen the video by Periodic Table channel here on YouTube. NASA estimates that the near-Earth asteroid Eros contains 20 billion tons of gold. Yeah, mining it would be a different matter, getting that gold back to Earth. A single ounce of gold can be beaten into a sheet covering nearly 100 square feet or drawn out into 50 miles of gold wire. Really not all that surprising to most of us. Most of us know how malleable gold is, but still a pretty cool fact. The world's most expensive iPhone 5 was worth $15 million US. It was made of 135 grams of 24 karat gold, and the chassis was inlaid with 600 white diamonds. Wow. The famous barbarian leader Attila accepted hefty subsidies in gold in exchange for not attacking Roman territory. Then did it anyway. Just goes to show you can't negotiate with terrorists, right? There you go. After Switzerland, the world's largest per capita gold reserves are held by Lebanon. Wow. So that's per person. Your hair contains traces of gold. My hair probably contains less of it because I don't have nearly as much. About half the world's gold supply is devoted to jewelry or industrial use. And there's Mr. T as an example again. And I think that does it. I didn't actually count those. But, yes, I think that's the next movement there. So that's the 38 facts about gold. I hope you enjoyed this video. Post your thoughts below. And if you know any other facts that weren't mentioned here about gold, post them in the comment section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, share, very important, comment, and subscribe.